to have joined online. My name is Balaji, and we have our faculty, Mr. Nagraj, who's also online, and he'll be taking over the session from now onwards after I hand it over to him in the next few minutes. Good morning, Nagraj.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone.
So just a very quick introduction about Mr. Nagraj. I think this must be his, I don't know, 19th or 20th session that he's taking online for both ICMA, ICI, and various other institutions. He was also recently in Bhubaneswar, Odisha, or across the state of Odisha, conducting similar training programs. Okay, so a very good morning and a warm welcome to this SAP FI program for ICMA that we are conducting. You will be creating the content, the audiovisual content, which includes simulations and other sessions through SAP Enable Now. You would have already received the access to SAP Enable Now. Hope some of you would have already logged in and seen it. So that is the same content that Mr. Nagraj will be using to deliver the training sessions from now on. As you would have seen the schedule, it is 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. And I understand from the institute that the attendance is mandatory. At the end of the session, there will also be an assessment. That's an MCQ assessment that would be held. Okay. An MCQ assessment would follow the standard passing policy of ICMAI. In between, I also would like to add here that this particular content that you're going to see is a very unique and customized content. Earlier, we were giving generic content, but this is a customized content for ICMAI, which has all the relevant portions that a person would need to understand and how to use SAP. So this is the SAP Power User course. And after the completion of this course, you will be able to use SAP and also teach others how to use SAP. So that's the uniqueness of this program. Just to introduce myself, my name is Balaji. As I said, 35 years of corporate experience. I am in the SAP ecosystem for the last 25 years. I started off as a sales and distribution consultant. Then I also learned materials management, production planning, IS, and had a brief stint in IS Utilities and IS Oil. Most of my time has been as a project manager, program director, head of SAP practice, and head of Center of Excellence. I worked with L&T Infotech, now it has become LTI Mindtree, then Wipro, then SAP. That was my last SAP career that I had was with SAP, wherein I was leading the team which delivered the Geo billing solution. If anybody has a Geo mobile connection, the recharges and the billing system runs on SAP HANA, BRIM solution. Those days we are calling it as BRIM. That was delivered or implemented under my leadership in Reliance. It was in the year 2014, 15, 16, those years. Okay, so before I hand over to Nagraj, I would also like to add a couple of things here. Please attend the session very carefully. Listen to Nagraj. One is he is a SAP finance consultant himself and is also a veteran in teaching. So he's a right combination of practical knowledge and a person who can teach. As I said, we are lost count 21, 22. I don't know how many similar sessions he has conducted online. Okay. And of course, he also does lots of physical offline training sessions also for SAP FI. And the customized content is already available with you. Please do spend time. Do not hesitate to ask questions, but don't ask questions in between. So what you can do is you can ask questions maybe when there is a time given for you to ask those questions, maybe at the end or whatever. Okay, as it goes, Janvi and Nagraj will be taking over these sessions and they will be guiding you how to go ahead. And last but not the least, I will be interjecting or stealing or requesting Nagraj to give me a 2-hour slot so that I also bring in the flavor of project management into the whole training session. This is absolutely out of syllabus, I can say, and there'll be no questions in MCQ that you will get, but it is more of giving you a practical view about how SAP gets implemented in the real world. And what happens and why SAP HANA, what is S4 HANA? Of course, he will be touching upon all that, but I'll be giving the other side of the information about all these, plus how exactly is SAP implemented, how exactly production support happens in SAP. So these are more from the project management aspects at a senior level that I'll be just be touching upon for you people in a 1.5 hours or 2 hour slot. So Nagraj, you and me need to touch base so that you can give me one slot for this particular session.
Sure.
Okay. And maybe once we decide on that session, a couple of sessions before that, you please announce in the class that on a particular day you will not be taking and I'll be taking that session.
Sure, sir.
So with these few words, a very, very warm welcome and happy learning for each one of you. All the very best. Do not hesitate to ask questions. Plus, I'm sure you're also aware that you can send in your questions or doubts that you have over email at support@skilltraining.in. Please do not hesitate to ask all your questions. And happy learning to each one of you. Do spend time in the system. That will give you a good view about SAP. Okay, so I leave I leave with this. Happy learning, all the very best, and over to you, Nagraj.
Thank
So,
you, sir.
Janvi, I
Thank you so
just click on end and hand it over to Nagraj. Is that correct?
No, sir. You have to click on leave, sir. Or if
Leave.
you're leaving, yeah.
Okay.
If you, because end the session will end, sir.
Oh, sorry. Lucky I don't send the. I didn't click a wrong button now.
Yes, sir.
So over to you, Nagraj.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So a very warm welcome to each one of the attendees. So today,
So,
yes,
Nagraj,
madam.
sorry,
Yes, madam.
sorry to interrupt you. You have to share the screen, sir.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yes.
Achha, before that, there is one more small question. Somebody has asked for meeting ID and meeting password in the chat. So is there any such thing?
No, sir. Meeting ID. There is a link for this.
Huh. So Sampath
They
Kumar,
have
you
to
need to
copy
click on
and
the link.
paste.
Yeah, you need to click on the link and you can join the session. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Nagraj.
Thank you, sir. So for the time being, or maybe say for today, at least the first session between 11 to 1, we will just have a general discussion as to what, even before we get into the heart of SAP, which we'll be talking about probably say from Monday onwards. Today, let's try to understand why, what of SAP, where is it being used, why is it being used, what it does to the business. And the most important thing what we need to understand from SAP is our focus should always be on the business. See, now just I have just a blank Excel sheet has been flashed to you. Okay, I'll be sharing my personal or maybe say your course content also down the line. Okay, so what we need to understand to have a grip on the SAP subject is you should understand, you should start mapping or you should start thinking what exactly or how exactly the business functions. It could be whatever business. I think Mr. Balaji used some, he was into oil and another thing, which he specifically used a term called specific, industry specific. Now, why was this term used? As I said, SAP now, especially currently, is being used across various businesses. No matter what the business is all about, SAP can still be used based on the requirements of that specific business. That's one. Now, so you have a wide business things. What can happen? You could be in the automobile industry, you could be in the service industry, you could be in the real estate industry, you could be in the food industry, you could be in the pharmaceutical industry, whatever is the business. Now, when I'm going to show you certain slides which I myself have prepared just for the understanding of the topics, right? This content you will definitely see, or maybe something very similar you will also see in your course content which has been shared with you. Okay, now how does your course content look like? That also we are going to look at it right now. And as it was pointed out, we will pause. We'll definitely take a pause for your questions, right? And let's try to answer all of them. And at the end of the session, you'll be having an assessment, which you will be taken through in detail. Let's not worry about it. Now, as I said, if at all you want to understand the subject of SAP, it should always be, first and foremost, you should know how exactly the business works, whatever may be the business. How it works, what are the operations, what does it do? So normally you will see a lot of functions, right? Whenever you take an organization, or whatever organization, it could be big, small, medium, whatever, and whatever could be the industry. You have people working, they have to be managed, they have to be paid salaries, they'll have to get their promotions. So how was this handled in the SAP environment? All the business operations. See, why are we in fact talking about SAP? Now we are looking at a product where it combines the functionalities of all the departments of your organization. Suppose if you're in a manufacturing industry, you purchase goods, you purchase raw materials. So where does it go? It goes to the warehouse or it goes to the stores. So from there, it gets issued to the goods, the raw materials will be getting issued to the production department, right? So you have people working on the production department and you have other functions also in the production department. You need to maintain the equipments, the machinery, what you use. You should also pay wages, you should pay salaries to the concerned people. Right? So all these activities. So how long is the production activity going to take place? How can I make the system more and more productive? So these are all the areas which we are going to look at as far as any business is concerned, and how SAP binds all these functions in an organization. So if you had noted, Mr. Balaji also used a term called as sales and distribution. He was from the sales and distribution side of SAP. Okay, so the sales and distribution. So ultimately, whenever any organization produces an item, produces a product, what does it do? It has to sell. Correct. So you have a sales department with or without SAP. I'm necessarily not saying a sales department exists only with SAP. Right? Sales department was there before SAP or even after SAP also. So the sales department, the salespeople, they have to do their job, the marketing and the sales. Correct. So how does SAP bind all these functions into this particular functionality of the business? Right. So this is in fact the most powerful thing in SAP, which is making it survive in the market, and moreover even as a market leader. If you take the ERP space, now I'm slowly going to start introducing you to some specific terms. Okay, I have still not spoken about SAP. I just gave you a small introduction as to. So now with our discussion, whatever we had in the past couple of minutes, SAP can be used for various businesses. The first thing. So what is the advantage of using SAP? It automates the functions of any organizations. As I said, any businesses. It depends on how the SAP system is constructed or configured. So if you do not understand specific terms, please put them up in your Q&A session or Q&A section of your the screen, whatever you are seeing. Okay, and we will take it up one by one. So why I'm introducing you to these terms is, once you get into the SAP environment, once you become qualified CMAs, you obviously are going to get into the SAP environment. Okay, may not be today, may not be tomorrow, but at least down the line, down your career, you will definitely face SAP. So in that scenario, you need to understand the typical terms the SAP professionals they use, or the people knowing SAP. I would not necessarily call them. They could be professionals or they may not be necessarily professionals. But even when a person works on the SAP system, he is bound to use certain terms which is typical to SAP. All right. So this is the reason as to why I'll be introducing you to various terms as and when the situation arises. So let's keep things simple. Let's try to keep things understandable. Okay, so the aim of this session is to make you feel comfortable working on the SAP system. All right, you don't have to be thorough professionals in the talks, because this subject SAP is very, very huge. And as far as my experience goes, a person can never say that he knows SAP or he's an expert in SAP. Maybe even after so many years of service, or maybe so many years of exposure to the SAP environment, there is always something new to learn, or something new which arises in every business. All right, so today I may be working for, say, some business X. Tomorrow I may start working on business Y. So the challenges, the requirements would be very, very different. And so also I, as an SAP professional, need to understand the requirement of that particular business and accordingly try to design the SAP system based on those specific needs. So every business will not have a standardized solution. So if you have applied for, let us say, real estate business, same cannot be applied to the food business. The same solutions cannot be applied to the say some cement industry or whatever it is. Correct? Logically, right? So this is exactly how we need to understand the SAP system and design the product. Okay, so this is the challenge of. So what is the challenge? You need to constantly keep updating yourself or upgrading yourself with the latest happenings in the SAP field. See, now you people would be interested to know more and more about SAP HANA. What is SAP HANA? There are so many things to be discussed as far as the HANA is concerned. So what did SAP take birth as HANA itself? Absolutely no. So when SAP was founded, SAP as a company was founded way back in 1972, April, right? This was not, see, it has constantly tried to do the R&D and meet up with the requirements of the current business. So that is why it has improvised, or rather it has upgraded the working of the product, working of the SAP product based on the requirements of the current requirements. Say for example, we moved from the VAT system of taxation to the GST, correct? So how did SAP take care of this transformation? So, or if SAP said, just imagine a scenario where SAP just said, no, we cannot change from VAT system to the GST system. Would people still use the SAP system in India? No. And just imagine, you have taken the example, I just took an example of one business scenario in India happening in our country. So is the SAP product designed only for the Indian businesses? Not at all. SAP is a global product used by the whole world. Right now, if SAP has to meet the requirements, or the product should be globally acceptable, what should it do? It should take care of all the business changes, the way the business is happening across the globe, and satisfy or design the product in such a way that it can be designed to meet any of the businesses in any kind of a situation. Now suppose, let us say I am at the end of, maybe say, okay, let me not say anything. My business, I have a business, I'm generating a report, some report which I need to submit it to my governmental agency. Let us say it could be a sales, commercial department, or whatever. So till now I was submitting the reports based on the requirements. Now tomorrow the requirement may change. So shouldn't the SAP product allow me or give me the freedom to change my report based on the requirement? You agree with my point? This exactly is what SAP is doing on a day-to-day basis. Every day, each and every moment, R&D is happening to understand the wide business requirements required by each and every industry. So can you see the length and the breadth of the product, what it should actually cater to? Now, what used to happen in the earlier things were, now each and every day, each and every moment for any kind of a business, it's a big challenge. Correct? It could be in whatever may be the challenge. Now, to constantly keep up your business, to keep your business up and running, you need to also change your thinking, how you can actually go about meeting the requirements of the business. So you can now imagine what was the idea, what was the intent, what is the intent of SAP? Correct? Now, if you're looking at the product like SAP, it is because of the constant upgradations, like we moved from an earlier system to HANA system now. So what was the earlier SAP system called? I will introduce you that term a little later. Now let us talk about only from the HANA perspective. So how did SAP evolve from SAP XYZ to SAP HANA? So it is almost so many decades, 1972, we are in 2025. So look at the survival of the SAP product. It has survived for so many years. Right? So it shouldn't have been an easy thing for SAP to always match up to the requirements of the business and try to be the leader in its own space. Now, weren't businesses existing before SAP? Obviously, yes. Obviously, yes. Now, what SAP is trying to do is automate, that is, with the least intervention of the human activities. SAP should be designed in such a way that it is taking care of the whole of the running of the business on its own. That is the intent. Okay, now coming back to, I think we have spoken quite a few things about SAP, and probably now you are aware as to what we are going to look at and what could be the expectations. Okay, the expectation is at the end of the sessions, you should be comfortable enough to understand, and basic work on SAP should be done by you people without much difficulty. That is the intention. I think the bottom line was very clear. Okay, and believe me, if at all you want to have a total mastery of this subject, you need to go way beyond this particular course. You need to have a solid hands-on on the live systems. Okay, and whenever, and basically, if you want to carve a career in the SAP field, okay, that is a different approach. With your CMA expertise, you can also map your SAP skills. Clear? So that we will take it up in our discussion. We still have a lot of time to go. Okay, so we will not exhaust all the things as of today. Okay, this is what we are going to look at now. I'll just try to focus on the. Madam, you're able to see the PPT. Can somebody please confirm?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah. So even before we start talking about SAP, what is SAP? It belongs to the ERP. Okay. Well, now what is ERP? Enterprise Resource Planning. Now, what is the ultimate reason, or what is the reason, or what is the purpose of using any of the ERP products? Earlier to SAP also, there were many ERP products. When I focus on the Excel sheet, I will make a note of all that. Earlier ERP packages are ERP products which existed much before SAP even did. SAP even took birth. Now, the third line, you can see what are the major business processes. One of the typical terms which is used by SAP, processes. Now, when we spoke about the business, so we took about when we discussed, I don't know how many of you really understood the practical side of whatever I said. Now, let me assume I'm into a manufacturing industry. So what do? I am manufacturing a particular product. What do I do to manufacture this product? I need to have the raw materials, correct? So who procures the raw materials for my company? I may be the owner of the business, perfect, but I cannot be involving myself in each and every activity, right? So I will be having certain departments in my organization. Now, the process. I am procuring the raw materials. It is coming to my store and getting stored in my store. The various kinds of raw materials, they are stored in a specific fashion in my stores, in my warehouse. Now, after this, what happens? Who's procuring this raw materials on my company's behalf? There is a department called as a purchase department. Yeah. So the purchase department will be responsible for the procurement of the raw materials or the procurement of the materials necessary for the production department. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Sorry. So now, so the purchase department is responsible for procuring the raw materials. Now, after the procurement of the raw materials, we need to, for our purchases, we need to pay to the vendor from whomever we have purchased the materials. We need to make a payment to him. Who's doing the payment? It is the finance department. So now a small example of this process. How is the finance department knowing that it has to release the payment to a specific vendor? So there has to be an information to the finance department. How was it flowing? How was it flowing from the SAP? How is the information flowing to the finance department? So the initial activity is from the purchase department. All right. So finally, the information has to flow to the finance department to release the payment. So there is a process. So how is the material ordered? How is the payment going to be released? So there is a specific steps which are involved to carry out or to finish this activity. This is called as the business process in SAP. I will continue with this example. Now you have produced the product. What should your organization do? Now, the next thing will be to sell this item, sell this product. Who's involved now? The sales department. Correct? The sales department, the information as to the availability of the product goes to the sales department. Now the sales department sells the product to the customer. The customer then makes a payment. How does the finance department know that the particular customer has to make a payment? Now you saw the connection. It all started from the purchase department trying to procure the raw materials, passing it on to the production department. The production department carrying out various activities and creating the final product. The information of the final product goes to the sales department, and the sales department, it identifies the potential customer who wants this product and sells the product to the customer, and the customer makes a payment to the company, to the organization. So you saw the various functions. This is called as the business process in SAP. So now, if you saw the whole explanation into what is a business process, I just gave you a very small example. We are going to look at this in detail only after we understand the basics of it, not until then. Because to understand this, you must be very, very clear in understanding what SAP is all about. Now, can you see the last line? What are the major connections between the processes? Now, what is a business process? It is essentially one department of your organization talking to another department. Your purchase department talking to the finance department. Your sales department talking to the finance department. And even the human resources department talks to the finance department. How? In terms of paying out the salaries to the employees. Clear? So all these things, they are an integration of the various functions in the organizations. All right. And how SAP closely sets the bond between these operations. Yeah, this is about your business process. Any questions on this, please put it up in your Q&A section. So we will take it up at the appropriate moment. OK. So a detailed explanation as to what is an ERP. So I also told you that I'm going to tell you about the ERP products which existed before SAP also. So you should also know that SAP is also falls under the ERP sector. OK. So as you can see, the first line, ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. So by the abbreviation of this ERP, what did we understand? So you are necessarily planning the resources, how productively and how effectively it can be used. So as you would have studied in your BCom or maybe even in your inter CMAs, you know what are the resources of an organization? Man, money, material. Okay. So without these three critical resources, no organization can function. How do you manage this resources? Okay, the more effectively, the more productively you start using this resources, the more profitable your business is going to be. So how does the top management of any organization know how it is effectively using this resource? There has to be a benchmark as to how I'm using my resources. Where am I spending money? Where am I saving money? How profitable I am? How much more profitable I can be? How can I effectively save these resources? Clear? So all these things must be known to the management so that it can appropriately take decisions at the required time. So basically, it is helping the top level management to plan and utilize in the most productive manner. As you can see, the third line, planning leads to the best and effective and productive utilization of the resources. And how does the management come to know as to how it is functioning, how it is using the resources? There has to be a information which has to be timely and which has also to be accurate. You agree with me? So the reports or maybe the information, whatever I'm drawing from the various operations, as a top level management person, I need to know, I need to get the correct information and at the required time. The timeliness and the accuracy of the reports is very, very critical. So does ERP qualify to do this? Absolutely. That is how any ERP product is designed. Okay, the reporting and the accuracy, timely reporting and the accurate information. End-to-end integration. What is an integration? It is the talking of the two departments. More than two departments is also possible. Now we saw how the production sales departments, they are related to the finance department. So from the purchase side, the finance department has to make the payment to the vendor, and from the sales side, the finance department is responsible for receipt of the money from the customers. Right? Did you understand? So this is the integration. This is how each department talks to the other department. So this typical talking of the departments between themselves is called as integration in SAP. And this concept in SAP is the most robust thing, which is actually the survival secret of SAP. Yeah, it is because of how beautifully the integration between the departments happen in SAP. That is why it is used widely and across the globe. Okay. Robust software package to assimilate the information. Assimilation is storage. How do I get the timely information? The data has to get stored somewhere. Okay. It has to get stored somewhere in the ERP product. So SAP is also storing the data within itself. SAP provides all the above. What does it provide? Planning of the resources. Clear? Accurate information, timeliness of the information, integration, and also the storage of the data. So all these points are excellently considered when you are talking about SAP as an ERP product. Okay. So this is just a basic a pictorial representation of whatever I said. The departments of an organization are connected to each other. Now we saw a small example. Okay, and we saw the connecting points also between the purchase and finance and the sales and finance. That is the connection. That is how each department gets connected. See? Sales, production, purchase, HR, finance. So based on whatever business you are carrying out, it depends, the number of departments also varies. Clear? So if at all I'm in the service business, I would not be having the production department at all. Makes sense, right? If I'm in the service industry, what do I do with the production planning department? So I will obviously not have the production planning department at all. Clear? Coming back to, okay, even before I come to SAP. So what are the earlier? I'm going to change the size, not to worry. Okay. The first and the foremost ERP product was something called as a PeopleSoft. Now we are talking about SAP also. Now there are so many other ERP products. You have Tally, you have so many other things coming up. Now, why SAP is being spoken about as the most robust or the most commonly used ERP software, right? PeopleSoft. Till date, even now, these two products are still being used in some parts of Europe and also in some parts of the US. JD Edwards is still being used, but maybe the usage has become very small as far as both BAN and also JDE is concerned, right? But some businesses are still using. Okay. Now, why people are preferring SAP now? There has to be a reason, right? Now, you remember we discussed something called as integration. This is the heart and soul of SAP. It is this integration points which is making the other products not being so very widely used. So PeopleSoft, it catered to more of the HR side of the business. BAN, JD Edwards, so they had their own. I'm not sure if I am using the right word called as limitations, but for now, SAP, since I have worked on SAP, this integration. What is integration? Talking between the different departments in a business organization is your integration. Business processes. How SAP connects the business flow between the departments is the strength of SAP. Correct? So this is where SAP has won over on the ERP side of the business. This is your SAP, systems, applications, products, or procedures in data processing. Okay. Now, this as a company took birth in a place called a small place in Germany called Waldorf. Let us read this. See. Even today, after so many years, it is still headquartered in Germany, Waldorf. And in Bangalore, we have, since I'm a resident of Bangalore, we have a couple of offices of SAP in Bangalore also. Please do not go by the numbers, the third largest. Now it could be the first largest software vendor in the world also. Can you see the numbers of the businesses using SAP? Of course, this data has not been updated for quite some time. Okay, now almost I would feel this is a very small number as far as the current scenario is concerned. Lots of businesses, they are getting into SAP. And you can see how SAP is spreading across to the various countries also. Why? As I said, it's a global product. It is not fixed to any specific country. It is not specific to any of the businesses happening in a specific country. No, not at all. This SAP product can be used worldwide. Okay, worldwide presence in over 50 countries. Just don't bother about the numbers. Just take some time to read this slide. Now, the basic thing what I want you to understand is, look at the various businesses which are using SAP. Petroleum, semiconductors, pharmaceutical, food industry, chemical, your computers, your real estate, your media. You must be really surprised, right? The media industry. Yes, I have worked on the media projects. I have worked on the real estate project. I have worked on the telecom project. Okay, so you can see the widespread of the product. How SAP has spread across the various businesses. So even the food industry, insurance. Yes, I had an experience even in the insurance business where SAP was widely being used in insurance. Yeah, in fact, I would say that was the first trigger point which actually interested me in taking up SAP as a career. Okay. So this is how SAP has made its presence felt. And now can you see whenever you're talking about the various businesses, right? Aren't you talking about the various way the businesses are they are conducted? Can you say that the petroleum business can be the same as the pharmaceutical business, or the pharmaceutical business is same as a food business? Absolutely not at all. These businesses they are different in many ways. Okay, now we can see how SAP is so very flexible so that any of the businesses can make use of the product. Now, when we started our careers, I started my SAP career in early 2000, right? So then probably SAP was working on a different version. Now we are talking about the HANA version of SAP. Clear? So when we actually started the career in SAP, things were so very different, and there were not as many challenges to the business entities as they are facing now. For example, VAT to GST. When you're talking about our own country, we are talking about VAT, system of taxation, to GST. So you can really imagine the effort. You can really imagine how the system has to be tweaked, or how the system needs to be changed or revised so that it meets the current scenario, business scenario. Yeah. So this is the flexibility of the product, right? You can see how big the businesses are when I'm giving you an example of where SAP is being used. You can see, you can just spend 2 minutes to read this slide. You can see the Tatas using, Reliance using SAP. You have giants in public sector, Bell, BHEL. I was also incidentally in one of the business, into the implementation in the sense of what should I say? Bringing in SAP to that particular organization, okay? Making the product work in that particular organization. Can you see how these businesses are different? Indian Oil Corporation, correct? So you can see How in the petroleum business is different from your public sector business? How public sector business is different from the hospitality business? Right? So SAP can very well be used, and they are being actually used in these particular industries, in these businesses. Okay, even before we get into the architecture, Janvi madam, do we have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you want me to go through that Q&A section?
Sir, I'll repeat the question, sir. Not an issue.
Sure. Yeah.
Is one student has said, can you repeat again about integration?
Okay, fine. Okay, integration. So what is integration? The way each department in any of the organization talk to themselves. For example, I gave you the example of a purchasing activity and a sales activity, and the finance and the payment and the receiving of the money activity, right? So when you're buying raw materials, the purchase department is responsible, but the finance department pays the money to the vendor. When you're talking about the sales function of your organization, the sales department sells the product, but the finance department has to retrieve the money or receive the money. They are responsible for receiving the money from your customer. This is your integration. A typical SAP term, integration. It is nothing but how the various departments in the organization, they are communicating between themselves. And these are all automatic. And see, there is the least human interference as far as the processes are concerned. Clear? Okay, probably I'll go a little deeper into the processes once when I feel that you are comfortable with the concepts. But I hope I was clear in telling you what the integration was.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah.
Now, only one more question. Sir, it means that SAP is basically highly dynamic.
Once again, madam.
Sir, it means that SAP is basically highly dynamic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In whatever form you take, you can use the word dynamic in whatever form, in terms of the repos, in terms of the workability, or how the business is functioning, day-to-day changes. And you can see the dynamic feature of SAP, especially when you're talking about the changes in the reporting. We see a lot of changes happening, especially when you're reporting your business to the government bodies. It's so very challenging. Yes, and you're absolutely right in saying that it's a very dynamic product. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Next question is, what do we mean by HANA version of SAP?
Can we take up this question maybe a little later? I will anyway mark this question. Can you repeat the question, madam?
So HANA, what do you mean by HANA version of SAP?
I will take up this question a little later, but anyway, I have made a note of this. I will definitely answer this question once when we deep dive into the topics. Okay. Yes.
The next question is, please summarize ERP again.
Okay. If this slide answers the question, I'm more than happy. But if at all it needs the summarization, I would definitely summarize. So what is ERP? Enterprise Resource Planning. Why is it being used? Basically to plan for your resources. Why do you plan for your resources? Because they are the heart of the business. Okay, and they have to be used judiciously. You cannot waste the critical resources of any organization, be it your materials, be it your manpower, be it your money. Okay, the way these resources are being used by the organization definitely reflects on the profitability of the business. Clear? And the resources and the ERP product, I'm not talking about SAP, I'm talking about any ERP product. Okay, must and should deliver the standard reports. Okay, it should be capable of delivering the timely reports or the timely information to the top level management so that immediate decisions can be taken to see the business is functioning perfectly well. This is about your ERP summarization. I hope I was clear.
Yes,
And
sir.
SAP also falls under the ERP set. Okay, SAP is also one of the ERPs. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Next question is, does government organization also use SAP?
Obviously, you saw the examples of the public sectors using. See, can you see the public sectors? BL, BHEL, right? All these are definitely using the SAP product. All right.
Sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Next question is, why is there no bank sector in list of companies using SAP?
Absolutely, there is a thing called as banking in SAP, which I will show it. Okay, I'll make a note of it. Yes, we are definitely going to see this in our sessions. There is definitely, so I'll tell you a small example. Now, I said when we were talking about the business process, vendors have to be paid, right? How are they going to get paid? Through the banks. How does SAP know that this is your bank? Suppose I'm conducting business from, say, ICICI. My business, I have an organization which operates from the ICICI bank. So shouldn't I necessarily build the bank in the SAP system? So this is how I would be giving each and every information in the SAP system so that the functions are happening automatically and smoothly. I hope I just gave you a brief insight into what is banking. So you need to construct a bank in SAP, right? So these are all, yes, but for the current moment is concerned, there is definitely banking in SAP. Because hundreds of, suppose Tatas, if they have to pay their vendors, you think they'll be having only one vendor or two vendors or maybe say 100 vendors? They'll be having thousands and thousands of vendors, which needs to be kept track by the system. That is why SAP is there. If at all it is humanly possible to remember all the vendors and keep issuing checks, why would you need an SAP system? These jobs have to be basically done by the system. That is why you're talking about SAP. Now I hope you would have got a clear picture about the length and breadth of SAP. These are all the things which is going to be handled in the finance side of SAP. May not be in core details, but definitely there is banking in SAP. I hope I have answered that question satisfactorily, madam.
Yes, sir. So,
yes, ma'am.
Next question is, SSP is used for HR role also or for finance only?
Absolutely. You take whatever department in your organization, your purchase, production, human resources, finance, planning, maintenance. All these are handling SAP, not only one or two. Every department functions in your organizations are being taken care of in SAP. Your recruitment of people, your retirement of people, your salaries, everything is managed in SAP. Okay, this is what your process is. See, I also said whenever employees have to be paid their salaries, they are paid once in every month on the last day or maybe on the first day of every month, right? So how is the salary payment being managed? It has to go through a integration or there has to be a process being set where the finance and the HR modules they talk. Why should they talk between themselves? Because the system needs to know that it has to pay X amount to the manager, it has to pay Y amount to the senior manager, it has to pay some other amount to the clerk, to the first division officer,